We're gonna eat our friends. We're gonna eat our friends. Start with Gregor. You wake in a cold sweat. Everyone seems to be sleeping in later than normal. Their stomachs must have kept them awake all night. The rain's still pouring outside. You can barely make out the trees from the windows. You hear a stirring of blankets, arms and legs. Maria looks petrified. I couldn't sleep. Anatoly has bags under his eyes. This storm is too loud. That's been my life the past like 24 hours. It's such bad thunder. It's like shaking the whole house. Karin looks out of it. Karin. The cabin was creaking so much last night. It sounded alive. Gregor looks a little gaunt. I got a good look out the window. And? Couldn't see anything. Great observation, Gregor. 10 out of 10. Best observer. I was so hungry last night. I kept pacing around my bed. Karin turns to you. When is this gonna end? I don't know. I checked outside the door again. Floodwaters keep rising. Unfortunately, we're gonna need to stay put unless one of us wants to drown in rainwater. As soon as the weather lets up, we'll be able to scavenge for supplies. How close is the nearest town? I don't know. Didn't you have a map on you? Big pause. I think I dropped it while we were running after Gregor. I'm sure it'll show up eventually. Yeah. Okay, bud. Maria and Anatoly go white as a sheet. How are we going to find our way back now? We'll have to ride out the storm. Maria looks at you. We're down to our last slice of bread. I don't know how much longer we can put off eating. The group stares at you. It'll clear up in no time. Maybe you're right. The group looks worried. They all gravitate to an area. You can tell Gregor's putting on a fake optimism and Maria is having trouble. Which one do you want to speak with today? Okay, let's continue Maria. Because I kind of doubt there's going to be time to progress like everyone. I feel like we're going to have to pick, and we already have some progress here. I'm surprised Gregor isn't freezing to death at night. How does he do it? You explained to Maria how the size of a person and fat content to determine how warm they are naturally. Yeah. Wish I was as big as Gregor. But to be honest, I don't need to be that tall to make a difference in the world. That's the attitude. Do you know what he wanted to do for a career? Maria does her best Gregor impression. Split firewood and gaze at the stars. How boring is that? Depends on the person, but pretty boring. You're so funny. Thanks for coming in and chatting with me. Maria blushes a little. You make it easier to pass the time. Thank you. For being in like a survival, out of food, life or death, trapped in a cabin situation, I feel like there's an unnatural amount of blushing happening here. Maybe I'm just like super hot. That's gotta be the answer. You thank her and leave the bedroom. You call everyone together. They all look grim. You could cut the tension in the room with a knife. Everyone is staring at you. They're expecting that last piece of bread for dinner. You bring it out, Everyone can't take their eyes off of it. You instruct everyone to take a pinch, and slowly all 5 of you tear it apart like a wishbone. Everyone studies their piece of bread carefully, wondering how long it will last. Karin is the first to eat hers. She chews each bite a few hundred times before swallowing. Anatoly chews it cautiously, opening his mouth once he finishes each bite. Maria nibbles on it silently, eyes wide, moving from person to person. And Gregor is unhinging his jaw like a snake again. Yep, pops in his mouth like a cherry. It was gone in an instant. The group thanks you awkwardly. It's not much, but you've run out of options. You wish everyone good night and get ready for bed. You go to bed starving. Good morning. Morning. Let me check if the rain has stopped. It's still flooding. What are we gonna do? Humans can live about 2 to 3 weeks without food. Water isn't a concern. Rainfall should end in a day or two, right? Actually, precipitation can occur more than 215 days a year here. But do you really think it will rain that long? Anatoly, it's been days already. What makes you think it's going to stop soon? Relax, everyone. Let's see how long we can ride this out. Fingers crossed it's done by tomorrow. No one believes that at all. Panic is slowly creeping in. Everyone's looking scared. But you need to survive. Karin and Gregor begin to discuss next options. Do you want to speak with Maria in the kitchen or Anatoly in the living room? Okay. I was gonna say we're all tied up, so I don't know. But I think instead we should just, sit here and ponder over how we have doomed everyone. Could you have rationed the supplies better? You crunched the numbers one more time. You could have reduced the amount of vegetables used in the stew, but it was their first day. You had to impress them. Yep. That's gonna matter a lot when everyone dies. Was there anything you could have done differently? Probably not. Maria, Anatoly, Gregor, Karin? You wonder if they're upset with you? Gregor calls the group over for a meeting. I don't think any of us can take this much longer. Gregor's voice starts to crack. I don't want to ask this, but it's time. Who's getting put in the oven first? One of us needs to go outside and search for... Oh, you're so boring, Gregor. I'm gonna eat you first. Everyone is silent. I'll go. Maria! I used to swim all the time near my house, so I probably have the best chance of swimming through the floodwaters. You're gonna get swept away. That's so dangerous. No! Let me go instead. At least, tie a rope to your body, so when you die, we have food. Just saying. You won't get very far if anything happens to your glasses, Anatoly. You're blind as a mole rat, remember? That's true, but... Little guy... Let me go. Gregor, Sounds good to me. Karin! His arms are definitely the longest, so he'd probably be the best at climbing trees out of all of us. No, that wouldn't be right, Gregor. Let me go instead. I get that none of these options are good ones, but we need to find food or help. Gregor grabs a branch from the woodpile. He cuts it into different measurements. Since we can't come to a consensus, let's draw for it. We'll each pick one from my hand. And the shortest will go outside to search for food. You're not worried about drawing. You saw Gregor cut the branch lengths, so you can tell which is the biggest one of the bunch. You pick it. And I gotta watch out for myself here. You watch the others intently. Will it be Gregor? Anatoly? Karin? Will it be Looks like I've got the shortest. It was Maria. Oh. Maria. Maria. It's okay. Like, if we all know she's gonna die, tie a rope. Don't do this. Let us eat you. I watched Anatoly forage earlier, so I'll know what to look out for. Everything is covered in water. Just swim until you find higher ground, then scout the area. Okay, that makes sense. Kind of, and this whole plan is stupid, but we'll find you a fish out there. Or maybe you'll find a fish out there. Everyone looks heartbroken. Karin, Anatoly, and Gregor. I'll keep us alive. What about me? I've been cooking for you this whole goddamn time. She promised. Everyone watches as Maria leaves the cabin. The silence is deafening. Goodbye. The door shuts behind her. You can faintly hear her yell about how cold the water is, and then silence. Maria has left the cabin. I'm sure we'll see her again. The rest of the group nods. Everyone stays up, waiting and waiting. The sun is completely set. One by one, each person quietly shuffles off to bed. You get ready for bed and easily pass out. Heartless. You have a strange dream. The two women in front of you could be twins. One of them you recognize, the other is a guest. You ask the guest to sit on a shovel, and then you try pushing it into the oven. Her legs are so strong you can't get her into the oven. You curse at her repeatedly. Like this, you hiss. You stretch out your legs until your toes are almost sticking into the coals. You feel 4 hands on your shoulders, and both of them push you in. The familiar smell of smoke and burning hair cause you to throw up on the embers. You can't let it end like this. You rip the metal door off the oven, tearing through the wood logs of the cabin. Screaming, you chase the two through the woods, your burns chill with the wind. The guest looks behind her and her eyes widen when she sees you. She's terrified. This half-burned something just running after them after ripping apart a metal oven. Your fury rips trees out by their roots, soil from the ground, rocks from the pits. You've never been this angry in your entire life. Their stamina can't last forever, you're gaining on them. As you trample through a field of wheat, the guest throws a piece of cloth behind her. You catch the glint of it in the sun, golden. As if by magic, the earth splits in front of you, creating a chasm of fire below. You fall into the pit, screaming as your eyes begin to sizzle from the heat. Hellfire fills your lungs, you're unable to scream anymore. You wake in a cold sweat. Wow. I always forget that there's gonna be one of those. Day 7. Oh, Natalie's crying. Good morning. Do you think she made it to higher ground? I believe in Maria. Me too. She'll be fine. Right, little guy? So what do we do now? Just wait? Karin. How long? It's been almost a day since she left. Anatoly and Gregor look nervous. Someone needs to go look for her. That's not what you do. That's not what you do here. Ah. We need to wait, Karin. Wait for what? The nearest town is miles and miles away. Waiting is all we can do for now. So it could be days before she gets back? What are we supposed to eat? Mice? Can I please tell me I can give her the dead mouse now? And Karin, I'm sure Anatoly will agree, but we'll discuss next options when we get to it. Every waking thought is about food now. I never should have eaten that much. Karin's hands are involuntarily shaking. Oh. Gregor and Anatoly just nod in agreement. They don't even need her to elaborate. You're sure Maria will make it back? She promised. Everyone retreats to their areas. Well, we're the furthest with Anatoly. Let's progress Anatoly. Hey. The kitchen definitely doesn't feel the same without Maria. Her laugh, her smile. I never got to tell her how I felt about her. She'll be back, right? You nod. Yeah. I wish we had rationed better. Get the fuck out of here with this blaming. You decide to distract Anatoly from his misery with an old story. That always works. There was once a villager who had to stock up supplies for the winter. He filled his house with a cow, a sack of grains from the field, and 92 buckets of water, mostly for the cow. It quickly ran out of room as the house wasn't very big. One day, the villager grew sick. He knew he needed the life-giving milk from the cow to survive the winter. But when he attempted to milk the cow, his grip was too weak to grasp her udders. What kind of story is this? In desperation, he began to boil the grains using his buckets of water. The cow cried out for food, but the villager could only afford to feed himself. Each night, the cries of the cows kept him, cows plural, kept him awake, until one day he finally ran out of food. The villager crawled into bed, crying as the snow deepened outside. The cow's sad eyes stared at him. He wanted to comfort the cow, but he couldn't step over the buckets. He could move them. He was too weak, too sick. The last thing he heard was the cow still crying out for food. One haunting noise to end his life. Why are we... I'm so sorry. Every time I come and talk to you, I just ruin your day. Oh, I'm so sorry, Anatoly. Anatoly looks horrified with your story. You leave him alone in the kitchen. Oh my god. I can't stop thinking about that vegetable stew. I'd be fine with the bread and jam. I'd be fine with just the strawberries. Ha ha ha. It's so funny. Nobody else laughs. I would kill for some vegetables right about now. Have you checked the kitchen drawer? You might, have your chance. You would too. I'm going to try to get some sleep. Good night. Night. You fall asleep quickly, but you only dream about desecrating a corpse. You wake in a cold sweat. Okay. In a completely different room? What? Good morning. Karin's looking worse. Will you cook for the group today? Yes. You take out a cutlet of meat and begin to cook it in the oven? You cooked meat. Where did you get that? You ignore Karin's question. What's that smell? Gregor finally gets off the couch. Where did you? The three are looking at you, salivating. You take the charred meat out of the oven, cutting into small cutlets. They immediately grab some off the plate, chewing ferociously. I wanted it to be Gregor first. You take a piece and immediately devour it. Do you have any more of this? You explain how the meat is stored securely, hidden, so you can ration it better this time. What's going on? I understand. Thank you. Anatoly runs to the bathroom, puking in the toilet. You can hear him sobbing for a few minutes. This taste is... Gregor wanders off. Anatoly returns, looking choked up. I was too weak. Left you some of the meat. Don't fight this, Anatoly. Anatoly takes a cutlet from the plate, turning his back to the group as he devours it. You can hear him crying. Finally, my focus is coming back. I'm going to read some of those books. Keep them occupied, okay? Karin leaves you with the men. Who do you want to talk to? I need to make it up to this kid. You knock on the door first. Anatoly? You slowly open the door. Thanks for checking in on me. You ask if he still feels sick. Not anymore. I think it was a mental thing. Please don't tell me where the meat came from. The less known, the better. You nod. Thank you. You're sure Anatoly will remember that? Yes! Yes! We didn't mess it up this time. Only mildly traumatized him today. You leave Anatoly and go tidy up some parts of the kitchen. Did we, go find Maria? Hours pass. The meal gave everyone the perseverance to keep going. Eating will just make them hungrier. No, wait, there was something in here. Oh, I missed it. They're fine now, but soon they'll be begging for more. We've waited long enough. What's for dinner? You calmly explain that you want to ration the meat better this time and that there will be no dinner. Fine. I understand. I guess I'd rather eat tomorrow than more today. No arguments? Perfect. Everyone decides to call it an early night. You fall asleep instantly tonight. You have a strange dream. You're having dinner with a blacksmith, but he's not touching his food. The only light in the room comes from the oven. He clears his throat, stroking his beard. I can forge anything, he says. Your eye has been giving you issues lately, so you reply, forge me a new eye then. You laugh. But then the ropes come out. Oh. He ties you to the chair with a long rope to prevent you from struggling. You rip the rope apart without even trying, so the blacksmith uses a thicker rope. No turning back now. He takes a hot poker out of the coals. Holding it in front of his face, you can see his beard and eyes watching you. He slowly brings back the poker, aiming carefully for your eye, before plunging it through your skull with a sickening crunch. The force of the blow throws you backwards a few feet. You're unable to break the ropes. You vomit all over your chest. as the smell of your decimated eye floods your nostrils. If it like crunched our skull, how are we even alive? The blacksmith stands over you, spitting on your body. You have dreams like this, you should probably talk to somebody. You wake in a cold sweat. Oh. You wake up to see Gregor looking out the window. He turns to you, not smiling. Take a look out the window. You notice anything? What's going on? The floodwaters have receded a little bit, but everyone is still bound to the cabin. The trail used to be completely visible. It's gone now. Good morning, big guy. Will Maria make it back? This might sound a little crazy, but every night around 2 a.m. I can hear her outside. She makes this awful gurgling noise like she's trying to get water out of her lungs. Have you heard her, Gregor? Sometimes when the rain gets faint, I think I can hear her whispering. I haven't heard anything like that. I've just been having dreams where I get spit on by a blacksmith. When she's whispering, it's like she's trying to tell you something, right? Yes. Dude, what the fuck? That's not okay. I sometimes hear her crying through the radio. You seem smug about that fact. But that's just a broadcast. Right? I think we should have another piece of meat for breakfast. Okay, this one's kind of goofy. One step closer to Maria. It's what she would have wanted. What's gotten into you, Anatoly? Anatoly's eyes look at you, begging. Bring us another slab. What is this face? Please. He clearly doesn't have the stomach for it. Clearly. I can't get the taste out of my mouth. Please help me. Anatoly. Gregor looks pained in Anatoly's words. I think he's right. Please, bring us more of that meat. You grab some of the meat from your secret hiding place. You cut it into squares, adding it to the boiling cauldron water. It will taste bland without any seasoning, but you need to serve it up right away. What's taking so long? Boil it faster. It looks almost done. Patience. It's finally finished. You serve the meat in bowls. Gregor drinks the broth first before swallowing the chunks whole, like a duck does when eating bread. Why? Okay. Anatoly creates ripples in the broth using the spoon. He isn't eating. I'm sorry about earlier, everyone. I don't know what overtook me. Maria. Anatoly begins to weep. You look over at Karin. He didn't notice her even start to eat. There's just an empty bowl now. Angry. Karin is staring right at you. How much more meat is left? You explain how most of it has gone bad. This is the last of it. How could you be so careless again? Yeah, you probably should have done something with it before it spoiled like that. You remember Karin's knife. You need to think fast. What the hell are we supposed to do now? Wait around again? The storm isn't ending. You clear your throat. Anatoly? Yes? I think tomorrow you should look for Maria. Or forage for plants outside. I think you should go tomorrow, little guy. Nobody else can identify edible plants like you. Please, Anatoly. You can swim back after a few hours. Gregor's right, Anatoly. Maybe you'll find Maria out there. I think Maria's fine by herself. He still hasn't accepted what happened yet. She doesn't need anyone's help. But we need your help, Anatoly. That's right, Anatoly. Help us. Please help us. Let me sleep on it. Okay? No problem, little guy. It's so angry. Everyone shuffles off to their rooms, reading books and knitting to pass the time. You go to bed ravenous. Maria. Something is approaching. Onion! Onion says hey. Don't be a crybaby. It's just me. Woo! Hi, Onion. I missed you, bud. Not going to be very sweet today. I'm worried about Anatoly. He's going to cave to peer pressure. Can you stop him from leaving the cabin? You don't answer, Onion. Please? Don't you trust me? You shake your head. Got a fun factoid for you. Did you know that leaving out an unpeeled onion in your room absorbs bacteria? It will help prevent colds and ward off viruses. That was a lie. The fun factoid of that myth? People actually believed it in the 1500s. How embarrassing. Please never do that. Ha 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 ha. There was even a doctor in 1919 who caused a surge of people believing it. We will believe anything anyways. You know what smells like raw onion left in a room? You! It's been a while since your last bath, right? You can't remember. Could smell you before I even came into the room. Yikes. So, can you stop Anatoly from leaving? I know he has cabin fever, but this is ridiculous. It will be impossible to stop a grown man from leaving. Please. We don't need another one stalking the hallways. Tapping on the windows. Crying through the radio. You have the sudden urge to scream. Why do you think I've been using the mouse holes to get around? Scared to death that I'll run into her. Don't make me tattle to Cabbage about you. She can be as mean as Potato if you get on her bad side. Just kidding, she's great. Anyways, when the time comes, just tell Anatoly you care about him and don't want him to leave. Even if it's for me, okay? I'll think about it. You can trust me. Now, if you excuse me, I need to work on some new ice skates. They're made of butter slices, so I'll get to skate around the frying pan tomorrow. Seems a little risky, friend. So, now I really want to know where we got the meat from. Because Maria is haunting us, I guess. Your mind finally manages to forget everything that's happened. You fall asleep again, still ravenous. You have a strange dream. A fox is collecting payment in your living room. You despise him, so you put 2 dogs at the bottom of a sack, then add 6 chickens on top. The fox smiles at you and leaves. At some point in his journey, the fox will eventually open the sack, and the dogs tear the fox in half. Filled with such loathing for the fox, you gave him the only things you had for food, all of those chickens. As the snow piles up outside, you begin to eat whatever you can find. Pillowcases, candles, leather. One day you wake up and you have nothing left to eat. Absolutely nothing. Just an insatiable hunger. A few days later, you go mad and leave the cabin, completely ravenous. A nearby tree looks like charred meat. Your iron teeth cut through the tree bark, tearing your gums apart by the splinters. Your mouth fills quickly with blood. What are we in our dreams? It's like a steel monster with massive strength. Days later, a deer gallops by, the first creature in the woods to see your corpse. You wake in a cold sweat. Something with the deer, too. Something smells terrible in the living room. Someone puked in a corner. You wipe it up with a rag to save them the embarrassment. Good morning. Good morning, little guy. Well, Anatoly, what's your decision? I barely slept last night. Her whispers came through one of the holes in the floor. She kept telling me to come outside. We don't want to rush you, but one of us puked last night. So that's what that smell was? So Gregor, if you know, like, it's obviously you. Anatoly, my patience is wearing thin. You have 1 hour to make a decision. Why so quickly? Because I'm not waiting any longer. Oh my. You can see the glint of Karin's knife under her dress. Oh my. Best to watch out for that knife. The group disperses. Tensions seem to be rising. You have 1 hour to kill. What do you want to do? We haven't talked with the Trompettes much. I kind of feel like I want Karin on my side. I should probably try and save Anatoly, though. Or I could go speak with Gregor. This is honestly a tough decision. Let's do Anatoly. Anatoly looks pale. Thanks for coming over. Anatoly seems comforted by your presence. Nice. Can we get another? Can we cap this out? Can we max you out? Gregor told me he's heard Maria. I'm sure Karin isn't being honest with me. Have you checked out the basement door closely? Every so often, I can see her peeking out at me through the holes. I really don't want to drown outside, but at least I won't have to have her tormenting me anymore. You know what's in the basement, don't you? I mean, I don't, but like... Is it Anatoly? I mean, is it Maria's ghost? Yes, of course you do. How else would you keep us? Anatoly looks like he's going to puke. Please get away from me. I should have said no. I should have said no. Anatoly leaves your vicinity. It looks like Anatoly will remember that. You call everyone together for a meeting, huh? Botch that one. Anatoly, you okay, little guy? Anatoly looks pale, like he's gonna pass out. Anatoly, have you made a decision? No pressure. Yes. I'll help you all out. I promise. Thank you, Anatoly. Big tears roll down Gregor's cheeks. I'll miss you, big guy. I'll miss you, little guy. Thank you, Anatoly. I know this wasn't easy, but it's for the best. Karin? Yes? Gregor looks at you expectantly. Did you want to say anything to Anatoly? How do you know? Were you listening? You say nothing. Savage. Goodbye, Anatoly. Goodbye, everyone. Good luck, little guy. Anatoly has left the cabin. See you soon, little guy. I guess all we can do now is wait. Good night. Karin goes to the bedroom to sleep. I didn't tell him the truth. Gregor's getting choked up. I didn't tell him. Missing him already. I mean, you made your choice, yo. Gregor curls up on the couch for the night, turning his back to you. You shut your eyes, quickly falling asleep. You hear a scraping from the floor. Found you! Ha ha ha. You explain how this isn't a good time right now. This is no laughing matter. I'm worried about Gregor. He's as tall as a tree, but as dumb as a brick. What's the root of that? Ha ha ha. Another cornbread classic. You're being very unpopular right now. That's a tree reference, get it? Ha ha ha. Anyways, you need to protect Gregor from the red-haired woman. Cabbage called an emergency chompet meeting and told me to give you this mission. Watch out for that knife and protect Gregor at all costs. Understood? Yes, I will accept your mission. You nod. It's the yeast you can do, right? You tell Brad that pun didn't make sense. It was perfect. It was a perfect pun. On a roll today. I'll see you around. Brad hops away, squeezing himself through the mouse hole with a small pop. You fall asleep, thinking about what Brad told you. You have a strange dream. It's lying on the table in front of you. You take off the glasses first, partially cracked, and set them down next to the workbench. Oh. Working the saw, you wrap the cuts in old newspaper. Some of it gets soggy immediately, so you begin drying the cuts with a towel before wrapping. Much better. You hear something approaching, so you clench a fist and get ready to strike whatever's coming for you. You wake in a cold sweat. So these dreams might not be dreams after all. I'm like looking for stuff in the background. I don't see anything this time. You wake in a completely different place. Yeah, I have these like blackout episodes where I butcher my friends. Did you sleepwalk or... You found some meat. Everybody's still asleep. This would be a nice surprise after yesterday's events. You decide to cook breakfast for everyone. Cutting each slice fairly thin, you brown each side in the oven. The smell is unique. Karin runs into the kitchen. Oh my! What is that smell? Give it to me. Now. You don't argue. Karin grabs a cutlet, burning her hands before bringing it to her mouth. Ah! She hungrily devours it, barely chewing. She grabs another cutlet off the plate and eats it. You thought she was concerned with rationing. Gregor wakes up from the couch and heads into the kitchen. Oh God. Already? Gregor looks conflicted, but he succumbs to the hunger. They always do. Gregor eats his food in a few bites, carefully grabbing a second cutlet. The tears start streaming down his face, but he doesn't make a sound. You join them in the meal, quickly consuming the meat on the table. I can think straight again. We'll be out of here in no time. No need to ration anything now. No, I don't think you're thinking as straight as you think you're thinking. Karin is sounding more determined than before. I'm gonna lie down on the couch, try to keep this food down. Gregor crawls onto the couch, turning his back to you. Karin leans in to whisper. I'm glad Maria and Anatoly are gone. They were stopping us from bonding properly. Dude, what is your problem? Now is not the time. How did you get so good at it? You tell, Karin. After one bite, it just made me feel whole again. What did I tell Karin? Even with the nightmares, it's worth it. It took a few nights, but I fought back. And now it's all I can think about. I read the book on necropsy. The text is ancient, but the diagrams are beautifully drawn. Very descriptive. How many years did it take you to perfect the craft? You tell her. Yeah, right. I used to tell Maria that you weren't funny, but that's not true. Sorry about that. You've grown on me. I love a man who can feed me flesh. Karin pauses, deep in thought. You know Gregor can't swim, right? He'd be the next to leave, but he doesn't stand a chance outside. They always seem to come back, right? In one way or another. Why wait for him to come back? Karin hands you a vial of liquid. Oh my god. I think you know what needs to be done. This is a strong anesthetic. Don't ask me how I found it. I want you to slip this into Gregor's mug tonight. This is for the best. He won't feel any pain until he wakes up. All you have to do is stand back and let me work on him. You're not even gonna kill him? You're just gonna, like... What is happening? This request is beyond extreme. Will you do this for me? Ooh. So we've made a promise to bread. But, like, I'm a little more terrified of Karin than I am of bread. But we could go the why don't you do it route. But if I just say yes, I'll probably be on her good side. I feel like both of these answers are not really, like, on your good side, you know? Okay. I need to psych myself up for what's next. This is my first time, and I want it to be perfect. Okay, I knew you would, thank you. You nod. She's learning quickly. You definitely think she's learning quickly. Karin hands you a vial of mysterious liquid, and you add it to Gregor's mug. Gregor, it's been a while since you had some water. Come drink with us. Gregor looks frightened. I can't stop thinking about the little guy. I can't even remember what happened before we arrived. It just never ends. I miss Anatoly and Maria. Let us toast to Anatoly and Maria. They'll always be inside of us, Gregor. Can't change that now. Gregor begins to weep. You're right. We're having it raw tonight, Gregor. You don't just casually say that in a conversation to someone. What? Eating raw meat is one of life's great gambles. Get awfully sick, or Gregor slowly puts the meat into his mouth, ignoring the smell. He swallows each bite with a wince on his face. Trying not to get sick. I'll never forget the first time I met Anatoly. We were teenagers. I was chopping firewood outside the house. Anatoly brought over a butterfly net filled with them. He introduced himself and asked me if I wanted to hold one of the butterflies. I had never held one before. He told me to not crush it between my large paws. He did have miniature hands himself, so I get it. Anata, and Karin, what did you put in this water? Would you do anything to save your friends, Gregor? Of course. Gregor's eyes start to droop. What the hell was Karin's liquid? I think it'd be best to have an early bedtime tonight. Let me help you onto the couch, Gregor. Yeah. Thank you, Karin. Gregor passes out cold. Thank you. I'll do the rest. Even if he screams, please ignore Gregor when he wakes up. Okay? What? Are you just taking like a piece? Is this a piecemeal deal? Piecemeal, get it? Huh? You don't want to interrupt Karin with this, no. No, I don't. You leave her alone, going into the bedroom and crawling into the bed Anatoly slept in. You fall asleep almost instantly. Oh. Wake up, sleepyhead. You were having a nightmare. Oh, who's this? Looks like Maria to me. Thanks for letting me practice last night. I think I did a great job. Made us all some breakfast this morning to celebrate. Breakfast? With what? That's a surprise. Gregor already finished his. Took a few hours, but he caved. Come on, let me show you. You get out of bed and head to the living room. Oh my god!